For over 100 years, every engineer who ever designed a gasoline engine wrestled with the same fundamental problem. You ignite fuel inside a cylinder, and most of that energy vanishes as heat, not motion. Toyota spent 2 decades and billions of dollars pushing efficiency further than anyone in the industry. However, in April 2026, a Chinese automaker called Geely announced a number that stopped the conversation. So, how did a company that once made refrigerator parts break a record Toyota couldn't reach? Cologne, Germany, 1876. A German engineer named Nikolaus Otto had been working for years on a problem that other inventors had abandoned. He wanted to build an engine where intake, compression, combustion, and exhaust all happened inside a single cylinder in a controlled, repeating cycle. The idea wasn't new, but no one had made it work reliably. Earlier in that same century, the French engineer Étienne Lenoir had built a gas-powered engine back in 1860, and while it ran, it did so without compressing the fuel before igniting it. Lenoir's engine hovered below 5% efficiency, meaning for every unit of energy in the fuel, less than 1/20th became useful motion. The rest escaped as waste heat through the engine block, vibration through the frame, and noise through the air around it. Otto was convinced that compression before ignition would change everything. He spent years experimenting, collaborating with the German industrialist Eugen Langen, and in 1876, he finally proved his theory right. His 4-stroke engine compressed the fuel-air mixture before igniting it, and the result ran at roughly 12 to 15% thermal efficiency. By modern standards, that sounds terrible. But compared to the Lenoir engine and the steam engines of the era, it was a generational leap. The design was so effective that engineers still call its operating principle the Otto cycle today, 150 years after it first ran. But here's what defined the century that followed. Despite continuous refinement across dozens of countries and hundreds of engineering teams, gasoline engines improved at a pace that can only be described as glacial. By the early 1900s, efficiencies had crept into the high teens. By mid-century, the best production engines pushed past 25%. The global auto industry invested decades into better fuel injection systems, turbocharging, variable valve timing, exhaust gas recirculation, and computer-controlled combustion management. By the 2000s, a well-engineered production engine might reach 30 to 33%. Better, certainly, but not by much given 100 years of trying. Why was the progress so agonizingly slow? The answer is rooted in thermodynamics itself. A principle called the Carnot limit places a theoretical ceiling on how much useful work any heat engine can extract from a temperature difference between its hottest point and its coolest point. For a gasoline engine, operating at the temperatures found inside a real-world combustion chamber, that ceiling sits near 60%. But production engines don't get anywhere close because friction between the piston and cylinder walls, incomplete combustion of the fuel-air mixture, energy carried away in hot exhaust gases, and heat absorbed by the coolant system all work against you simultaneously. Each of those losses compounds the others. And the wall doesn't just resist climbing, it gets steeper and more stubborn with every percentage point gained. Reaching 35% in a mass-produced passenger car engine was widely considered excellent engineering. Reaching 40% seemed, for a long time, like a boundary that might never fall. But one company refused to accept that conclusion. If you'd asked anyone in the global auto industry in the early 2000s which manufacturer would push combustion efficiency the furthest, the answer would have been nearly unanimous. Toyota. Toyota had been refining its engineering philosophy since the 1950s, building a culture of relentless incremental improvement known as Kaizen. That mindset touched every component, every tolerance, every assembly step. And when Toyota turned that focus specifically toward thermal efficiency, the results redefined what the industry believed was achievable. The broader context matters here. By the early 2000s, the conventional wisdom in automotive engineering held that gasoline engines were a mature technology. The big gains had been made decades earlier, and future improvements would come in fractions of a percent if they came at all. Many engineers believed the remaining energy losses were essentially structural, baked into the physics of how gasoline burns. Toyota's leadership disagreed. In the late 1990s, Toyota launched an internal overhaul called the Toyota New Global Architecture, TNGA. The ambition was striking. Toyota planned to consolidate its sprawling engine lineup, which had ballooned to over 800 variants, down to fewer than 20 highly optimized designs. The idea was counterintuitive for a company known for offering something for everyone, but the engineering logic was clear. Fewer engine platforms meant deeper investment in each one, and deeper investment meant better results. The crown jewel of that strategy was the dynamic force engine family. And when the first version appeared under the hood of the 2018 Camry, the automotive press took notice. The 2.5-liter inline four-cylinder gasoline engine achieved 40% thermal efficiency. Its hybrid counterpart, running a higher compression ratio of 14:1 on the Atkinson cycle, reached 41%. Both figures were the best in the world for a production car engine at the time. What made those numbers even more impressive was the engineering required to reach them. Toyota had redesigned the intake ports to generate a fast tumbling airflow pattern inside the cylinders, promoting more complete combustion. They'd widened the angle between the intake and exhaust valves from 31 to 41 degrees, opening a straighter path for incoming air. They'd lengthened the piston stroke relative to the bore diameter, giving each combustion event a longer window to push the piston and extract energy. Beyond the combustion chamber itself, they'd applied a low-friction coating to the pistons, fitted an electronic thermostat and electric water pump for precise coolant temperature control, and deployed their D4S dual injection system, which toggled between port and direct fuel injection depending on driving conditions. Each of those modifications sounds incremental in isolation. Together, they represented the output of roughly 20 years of focused research, and the record stood. For years, no production gasoline engine anywhere could match it. What happened next changed the dynamic in ways nobody predicted. While Toyota was refining its engines in Aichi Prefecture, something altogether different was unfolding in the coastal Chinese province of Zhejiang, 500 miles to the southwest. In 1986, a 19-year-old named Li Shufu borrowed money from his family and started a small business in the city of Taizhou. He had recently finished high school and bought a camera with his graduation money, running a small photography studio, before shifting to something more industrial. His new company manufactured refrigerator parts, simple metal and plastic components for kitchen appliances. Nothing in that workshop, nothing in that product line, hinted at what would come next. Li Shufu was restless, though. When tightening government regulations forced the refrigerator factory to close, he didn't walk away from manufacturing. He walked further into it. Could a man whose only experience was kitchen appliances and photography actually build something bigger? In 1993, he visited a struggling state-owned motorcycle factory and spotted an opening. He acquired the company, absorbed its production technology, and started building his own motorcycles and scooters in Taizhou. By 1994, the operation was selling tens of thousands of units per year across southern China.